The Running Man. I saw this because people have been comparing this to Battle Royale and The Hunger Games, which I still have not seen. I thought that it was a fun little action movie, but filled with a lot of problems. I thought at times it was unintentionally funny, particularly around the start. Arnold Schwarzenegger was horrible like he always is, but nonetheless he's lovable, and there's zero character development which made it hard to care about what was going on in the story. Still, the level of imagination put into this future world and the game show is pretty good and made it a good viewing. Not a must-see by any means, but a fun movie. I'll give The Running Man a 7 out of 10. Thor. With the release of The Avengers, I'm sure everyone is making comparisons between the individual movies featuring those characters, and while I still have not seen The Incredible Hulk or Iron Man 2, I do have my own idea about this. I preferred Captain America and Iron Man, but despite that, Thor is still a very good action movie. The action scenes are very well shot, Chris Hemsworth delivered a very good performance, I like the imagination put into the fictional world of Asgard, and the positive message regarding personal behaviour was well enforced. I wasn't a fan of Natalie Portman in it though. Thor isn't anything really special, but it's a good blockbuster, so go check it out. I'd give it a 7.5 out of 10. Where the Wild Things Are. I had the picture book of this when I was a little kid, so I was most keen on it for the purpose of reconnecting with my youth. I loved it a lot as a child, but the movie simply just didn't recapture it. I thought that the main character, Max, was often very irritating and not really developed enough to carry the story. The Wild Things are pretty much designed exactly the way they should have been, and the special effects used to bring them to life were quite good. But as characters, most of them are just empty. I can't recall how long the book was, but it was very short, so it'd naturally be difficult to extend such a story into a feature film, and they didn't succeed. The movie just moves on way too slowly, simply because there isn't enough stuff to work with. I think it could have worked better as a 30-minute short film. Overall, I didn't think this movie was all that great. I give Where the Wild Things Are a 6 out of 10. Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. This would probably surprise a lot of people, but I really just didn't think all that much of this movie. I thought it started off pretty well, but it just drags on a lot, and I really couldn't develop any emotional attachment to the characters. Not because they were undeveloped or anything, I just didn't really care. I will admit that the film is extremely well shot. The cinematography is gorgeous, and Thomas Alfredson's style is very nice, but I don't think it should have been used on this film. Ultimately, I was pretty disappointed by it, considering I had high expectations because Alfredson's previous film, Let the Right One In, is one of my favourite movies ever. Okay at best, in my opinion. I would give Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy a 6.5 out of 10. Equilibrium. This is a very fascinating movie. It's set in a world where human activity has led to widespread suffering, so a totalitarian state forms, and its prime activity is to suppress human feelings in order to maintain peace. I really love the irony of that idea as a whole. The state comes to be in response to the horrors of humanity, only to terrorize humanity itself. It's just a cool idea. Christian Bale delivers an excellent performance in this film. In fact, I think it's one of the best he's ever pulled off. Two films I'd like to compare this to are 1984, for obvious reasons, and The Matrix, for the way the action scenes are shot, and in my personal opinion, this is superior to both of them. If you like dystopian science fiction, Equilibrium is a must-see for you. I'll give it an 8.5 out of 10. Sophie Scholl, The Final Days. This is a German film set during the rule of the Nazis, and as far as they go, this one is very different, but of course in a good way. I can't say this with absolute certainty, but I think this may be one of the only films about Nazi Germany to be set mostly in a prison. I thought that this film did a wonderful job at creating a feeling of despair in the viewers. You feel scared for what's going to happen to the main characters, and it does an excellent job at antagonizing the Nazis, in regards to their persecution of not Jews, not gypsies, not communists, but the average German who dared to speak up against their tyranny. The courtroom scenes are absolutely fantastic, and I also really like the ending. Some might say it's a bit slow, but I think it's paced very well, despite how long a lot of scenes are. This is really good stuff, so I give Sophie Scholl, The Final Days, an 8 out of 10 score. Trick or Treat. Not a whole lot to say about this one, I'm afraid. It's a nice collection of intertwining horror tales brought into one movie. I thought at times the movie wasn't long enough and it could have developed itself a bit more. I really liked the way in which it played upon some horror cliches. I shouldn't discuss them because it may reveal some major surprises, but I thought that it was just really cool. It has some cool characters and some very original ideas. Overall, not much to say about this film, but it's good. I'll give Trick or Treat a 7 out of 10. The Grinch. I think pretty much everyone had seen the original animated version of The Grinch as a kid. I saw it myself about 3 times growing up, and I recall always liking it. I've been getting into more Ron Howard films, and this one, while far from perfect, is quite entertaining. Jim Carrey, in my opinion, is fantastic as the Grinch. I didn't particularly care for any of the other actors in the movie though. The film does have flaws. Some of the jokes are stupid, such as the one where the Grinch makes the mayor kiss the dog's anus. There are also unnecessary or even just flat out inappropriate scenes in it. Take for example Cindy Lou's song, or the regular sexual innuendo. Also, the cinematography is just weird at times. I think the biggest problem overall though is the pace. It's simply just too difficult to translate a 30-minute short into a 100-minute feature. Overall, they could have improved, but it could have been way worse too. At least it's not terrible like The Cat in the Hat from a few years later. I'll give The Grinch a 7 out of 10. K-19, The Widowmaker. Although my experience watching this was hurt a little bit by the occasional skipping of the DVD, I enjoyed it quite a lot. Harrison Ford delivers a brilliant and intimidating performance, and Liam Neeson is very good as well, but not really that memorable. I liked how it really emphasized the fact that the crew on Soviet submarines were much like a family, sticking together during a rough time. The depiction of Cold War relations was pretty good too. The film also has a very haunting atmosphere that helps it maintain suspense till the very end. Overall, K-19 The Widowmaker is a great Cold War era thriller. Check it out. 8 out of 10. The Mist. This is based off of the Stephen King story. As far as modern horror films go, I think this is one of the very best, along the lines of stuff like Let the Right One In, The Ring, The Devil's Rejects, and so on. I really love the atmosphere that the film captures. You really just feel the tension of being trapped in that supermarket, and isn't that what a good horror movie should do? Naturally. The film definitely takes its time revealing what exactly is in the mist, which definitely emphasizes the suspense. Not knowing is almost more scary than knowing. I don't think there is too much to say about the human characters, but that one religious nut was just an absolute pain. But of course, she contributed to the plot. The Mist is a great horror movie, and I highly recommend you check it out. I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10. Anyways guys, that's my video. I hope you enjoyed it, and goodbye.